Again, welcome back to the channel. I'm Paul with Stud Pack. In our previous video, you saw us install our Schluter drain and our curb and install all these lights. So now we have wonderful light to work with. I can see so much better. So let me take you down here and walk you through today's project. We're going to be installing our pre-slope, our dry pack, our mortar bed. It has lots of different names, but it's basically a sloped mortar bed. It'll get covered with Curdy fabric. Our tile will go directly on that, and it's going to establish the slope to our drain. Now I set up the laser earlier, and so that beam is 3/4 of an inch above our flange, which is perfect. For the tile we're using, this is our floor tile, we want about 1/4 inch of slope. If I go to the longest dimension here, that's almost 3 feet from the corner to here. And our longest dimension perpendicular to the wall is over 2 feet. So I'm liking the 3/4 inch of slope over that distance. So now what we're gonna do, we can turn our laser off and we won't have to rely on it. I've got my Sharpie line all the way around. Now Schluter makes a foam shower base. It works better when your drain is more in the center of the shower. The other issue we have is that over here, in this corner, we're at 1.25 inches from the slab to our laser. And then in this corner, we're almost at 2. So the slab is pitching this way. If I put Schluter's pan on here, it would not work because it's going to be pitched. I would have to make this level beforehand. It's just easier to use the dry pack. So let's go outside, mix up our thin set and our dry pack, mud, and come back and we'll get started.
Dude.
That was 110 pounds you just carried in.
Yeah, that was
50 yards?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go try out for the NFL.
and some steps too. All right guys, check it out. We have our thin set mixed up into a slurry. And what we're gonna do with that, we're gonna use this old paintbrush. You could use a trowel, a sponge, an old rag, anything. And we're gonna put it on here. And it's going to bond our dry pack to this slab. That dry pack doesn't have enough moisture in it to bond to this concrete. It would basically be like taking this tile and setting it on there and expecting it to stay. There's no way. And what we're basically making with this is one big concrete tile, right? So this slurry, this thin set slurry, is going to bond this to this. Now, usually you'll have a curve that goes all the way across and you can do the whole thing at once. There's no way I'll be able to reach these back corners from over here. So I'm going to park myself here, do from where my left hand is around to here. Then I'm going to come on the outside and finish this corner where I'm kneeling. So the process is put our slurry down. We're going to build our dry pack up to our line that we put on the wall with our laser. And then I made all these plywood screeds. I know they're wood, I know it's not the right material, but this is a one-off. And I don't have aluminum screeds, and we've done it this way before. That plywood's gonna stay straight long enough for us to use it as a screed. So this is the shortest one. I needed, what, 5? I needed 6, Jordan, right? From I think 14 to 39 and 5-inch increments. I think that works. So the 14 will go from here to there. And I'll switch to the longer one, go a little bit more, and then change as I need to span from the flange to our wall. So let's get started. Get this thing knocked out, huh? Alrighty guys, our pre-slope is done. It came out fantastic. I'm really happy with it. You kind of saw my technique. First thing we did was put our laser line here. If you don't have a laser, just establish that line with a level. And you really don't even need to do that. There are plenty of good techniques on YouTube. Check them out. Once I had it where I liked it, I used my finishing trowel to get it smooth. Got my level. About half a bubble out of level, which is perfect. And then I would even get down here and make sure I didn't have any low spots. Oh man, I'm really happy with that. Our next step in this shower is to waterproof the pan. We're going to use Kerdi membrane just like we did on the walls. After we do that, we're going to get out here and put self-leveling compound on this floor. But it's getting late. We're going to do that tomorrow, so we'll see you then. Hey gang, it's the next day. I've been hard at work on this floor, getting it ready for our self-leveling underlayment. Jordan's going to show you the floor and what I've been doing. I'm going to take you through each step and show you what I did. The first thing I did, I wanted to know how level or out of level this floor was. From our shower video, and take a look at the pan, it's drying nicely in there. But back from that video, we knew that just this area was a 1/4 inch out. So I didn't have high hopes for this area. So I got my roto hammer with a 1/4 inch bit, and I drilled a series of holes in the slab. I didn't measure, didn't use my laser beam or anything like that.
Nice.
I just randomly drilled holes about every 2.5 feet apart to give me a grid. Then I put in my favorite plastic concrete anchor. Any plastic anchor will work for this. And then I put a drywall screw in each anchor. I set up my laser on this counter because it's a consistent benchmark. It'll never change. And using this strip of plywood, I just went around on the concrete, making marks, trying to get an idea of what this slab was doing. That told me that this was the high corner. So I started in here. I put this screw 1/8 of an inch above the slab, and I made 2 marks on that blue tape. You see them? So then I went to every screw and adjusted it up or down until my laser beam was in between those 2 lines. Once I did the whole floor, I went around with blue tape, and I wrote on the blue tape how far above the concrete is the top of the screw. So you can see right there, that one's 3/8. And then as we go this way towards the master bedroom, 5/16, 5/8, 3/4. So a 3/4 inch drop between this screw and the one in this corner. Now, in this toilet room, the laser beam won't project around this door. So I just use my level, one end on top of this screw and the other end on top of that screw, and adjusted the screw until it was level. So again, 0 here, 3/4 there. I was hoping it was the other way. I was hoping it would be thinnest where we have to transition to our wood floors, and thickest in here where it's the worst. But it's, of course, that's not the way it panned out. So once I had all that done, I started working on my dams for the self-leveling underlayment. I just bought a sheet of white insulating foam from the home center, cut it into 1-inch strips, and attached it to the floor with just using some painter's caulk. I use the Alex. A lot of people call this Alex. I don't know why. That's a portmanteau of acrylic latex, so it should be pronounced Alex, right? What's a portmanteau? Check it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a combination of 2 or more words. Microsoft. There's hundreds of them in our vocabulary.
Interesting.
Yep. So over here at the door to the master bedroom, I originally had put a dam right here. But then I realized if I have a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch of underlayment right here, how am I going to transition to this wood? The owners don't want any steps or transitions. And that tile is going to be perfect, just like that. By the time we get the thin set under it right here.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was to move the dam back to the toe kick on the cabinet. And then I will basically ramp the tile down from here to here. And I don't think you'll ever be able to feel it. But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have a grout joint obviously here. And so this tile will ramp down to the wood. And then this tile will be completely on our underlayment. Our next tile is going to be, we haven't determined our layout yet, but we will have to make a cut here so that this tile can be on the underlayment and that this piece can ramp down.
You'll never notice.
You never notice. And then what's going to happen over here, the tile is going to be this way. So we'll ramp up just slightly, and then at some point there'll be a grout joint all the way across here, and then we'll go back flat. So I think that's going to work out great. So let me talk a little bit more about this dam. Under the toe kick, I didn't need it, so I just caulked right there. And then I put this dam here. Again, I caulked here. And then over here on the right, I went all the way around that pocket door with the foam, because I didn't want that underlayment going under the door and then under the cabinet. So it's all blocked off. You can get a pretty good shot right there. Over here on this plumbing wall, the bottom plate was cut to accommodate for the drain and the water line. So there's a big gap there. So I did that. And then I needed a piece over here where it's really bad. Can you see how wavy it is here? That's where that brick was showing from the old footing. And I went around the pocket door here, around the front of our tub deck, and then I just caulked from here to there. After that was done and dried overnight, I mixed up the Mapai Primer Tea, 1-to-1 ratio with water, mixed it for 2 minutes, put it on with a paint roller. That was over 2 hours ago. It's nice and dry. And it was interesting, Jordan, it really kind of highlighted some of the aspects in this slab that we never saw before. Like right here, you can see that these are 2 different slabs. Or this is a saw cut. I don't know. And you can see an outline here of an old cabinet. An outline here of an old cabinet. This has all been patched with concrete. Maybe when they added this, they had to tie into the sewer for the vanity and the shower. But anyway, we're about to cover all that up. So as you can see, we still have all the screws in the concrete. My plan was to use the tops of those screws to level the self underlayment. We're going to pour it to the top of that screw. But that won't work anymore because I would need almost an inch thick of underlayment right here to have a level floor. And then basically this would be a ramp down to this floor. I didn't like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the screws out and we're going to pour the self-leveling underlayment for coverage. My goal is to have about a 1/4 inch over by the toilet and about a 1/4 inch here. So instead of having a level floor, we're going to have a flat floor, which is going to pay off big time dividends when we start tiling this thing, and it's going to make it look beautiful. So these screws have served their purpose. We're not going to use them now, so we're going to remove them and start mixing up that self-leveling compound and get this thing poured. And that looks awesome.
Yeah, dude.
I was so anxious about that.
That looks freaking sweet.
Yep, worked beautifully.
It's like glass.
Yep. As a homeowner, you know, when they come home, they're going to see this, and I just think it gives a feeling of professionalism and that it's being done right.
Right, peace of mind.
And that took exactly 4 bags, right?
Exactly 4 bags.
Perfect. This was our staging area. We didn't want to mix this outside and then carry a 50+ pound bucket of liquid through this beautiful home. So we did it right here. The other thing we did, I figured about 4 bags. I actually bought 6, but we brought in 4 buckets and we put in our 5 1/4 quarts of water in each bucket. So it was ready to go. We didn't have to think about water. We could just dump 1 bucket and go right into mixing the next one, and that worked great. We probably did all that in less than 10 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So I want to talk about these dams a little bit. Now, obviously, this one's going to get removed, but the ones around the perimeter, we'll just take our buzz saw and flush cut that foam off at the top of our self-leveling compound. And then, of course, the tile will cover that 1 inch of foam. It'll be perfect. All right, gang, that's going to be a wrap for this video. We're really excited this step is done. If you like the video, be sure to like the video for us. Really appreciate that. Leave us a comment, leave us a question. We'll try to answer it if we can. And if you have a tip on how you do it, leave that tip below in the comments so we can read it and others can read it. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate all the support, and we'll see you on the next one.